Champions, welcome back to English Mindset. I want to start today with a question that might feel uncomfortable. When was the last time you looked at someone else's life, their job, their relationship, their body, their income, their confidence, their English, their success, and felt a quiet ache somewhere deep in your chest? Not hatred. Not anger. Just that low, heavy feeling that whispers, why them and not me? Why do they have what I want? What is wrong with me? If you have felt that feeling, and every honest human being has, then today's video is one of the most important things you will ever watch. Because that feeling has a name. It is called social comparison. And it is not a character flaw. It is not proof that you are jealous or small or ungrateful. It is a deeply wired biological response, built into the human brain over thousands of years of evolution. Your brain compares automatically, constantly, and completely without your permission. But here is what nobody tells you about social comparison. It was designed for a world where you knew 30 people. Not 3,000. Not 3 million. 30. The people in your village, your tribe, your immediate circle. And in that small world, comparing yourself to others made sense. It helped you survive. But today, you are not comparing yourself to 30 people. You are comparing yourself to everyone. Every polished highlight reel on social media. Every success story you scroll past at midnight. Every colleague who got promoted before you. Every friend who seems to have figured out the life you are still trying to understand. And your brain, which was never designed for this volume of comparison, is completely overwhelmed. Exhausted. Running a program that was built for a village but is now trying to process an entire world. Today we go inside that program. We understand it. And then, we rewrite it. The vocabulary word for today's first section is the word innate, meaning something you are born with, something natural and built in rather than learned. Social comparison is innate. It is hardwired. In the 1950s, a psychologist named Leon Festinger proposed something called social comparison theory. He discovered that human beings have a fundamental drive to evaluate themselves, their abilities, their opinions, their worth, by comparing themselves to other people. Not because we are shallow. But because comparison was one of the primary ways our ancestors understood where they stood, what they needed to improve, and how to survive within a group. Here is the problem. That same mechanism, when exposed to the infinite scroll of modern life, becomes a torture device. Every time you see someone doing better than you in any area, your brain releases a small stress signal. A tiny alarm. A whisper that says, you are falling behind. You are not enough. You need to do more, be more, have more. And because social media shows you thousands of these moments every single day, your brain is living in a permanent state of low-level alarm. Permanently comparing. Permanently finding evidence that you are not where you should be. Permanently exhausted by a race that has no finish line because you are not even running in the same direction as the people you are comparing yourself to. Let me tell you about two people. The first person is a young woman named Layla. Layla is talented, warm, and genuinely hardworking. She speaks 3 languages, runs a small business, and is slowly but surely building a life she is proud of. But Layla has a habit. Every morning, before she does anything else, she opens her phone and spends 45 minutes scrolling through social media. She sees a former classmate who just bought a house. She sees an influencer with a perfect body and a perfect wardrobe. She sees a business owner her age who seems to have 10 times the customers she has. By the time Layla puts her phone down and begins her actual day, she feels behind. She feels small. She feels like no matter how hard she works, she will never be enough. Layla is not lazy. Layla is not ungrateful. Layla is simply living inside a comparison trap, and it is quietly stealing the joy from a life that, by any honest measure, is genuinely beautiful. The second person is a man named Omar. Omar used to be exactly like Layla. He compared constantly, his income, his body, his relationships, his progress. And then one day, after a particularly painful evening of scrolling through social media and feeling completely worthless, he made a decision. Not a dramatic, overnight transformation. Just one small, quiet, deliberate decision. He decided to measure himself only against one person. The person he was yesterday. That was it. That was the entire shift. Not comparing himself to strangers living completely different lives with completely different starting points and completely different definitions of success. Just asking one simple question every morning: am I better today than I was yesterday? Even slightly. Even 1%. Within 3 months, Omar's anxiety had dropped significantly. His productivity had increased. His relationship with his work, his English practice, his business, his daily habits, had changed from something driven by fear of falling behind into something driven by genuine curiosity about how far he could grow. Same person. Same life circumstances. One different question every morning. The vocabulary word is benchmark, a standard you use to measure progress. Omar changed his benchmark. And that single change changed everything. Now I want to give you 3 practical tools. Not theories, tools. Things you can use starting today. The first practice is called the gratitude interrupt. Every time you catch yourself in a comparison spiral, every time you feel that low, heavy ache after looking at someone else's life, stop. Do not push the feeling away. Just interrupt it with one question: what do I have right now that I am genuinely grateful for? Not a long list. Just one thing. One real, specific, honest thing. This works because gratitude and comparison cannot occupy the same mental space at the same time. They are neurologically incompatible. When you activate genuine gratitude, even for a moment, the comparison response quiets. Not permanently. But enough to break the cycle and bring you back to your own life, your own path, your own story. The vocabulary word is interrupt, to stop something in the middle of happening. The gratitude interrupt is one of the most powerful mental tools available to any human being. The second practice is called the timeline shift. When you catch yourself comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20, remind yourself of the timeline. You do not know how long that person has been working. You do not know what they sacrificed. You do not see the years of failure, rejection, and quiet suffering that happened before the highlight reel you are comparing yourself to. Ask yourself, how long have they been doing this? How many years did they practice before they looked like this? And then ask, how long have I been doing this? Am I being fair to myself? The vocabulary phrase is context matters, meaning that you cannot understand a result without understanding the full story behind it. Most comparisons are unfair because they compare your beginning to someone else's middle. The third practice, and perhaps the most transformative, is called the mirror practice. Every evening, for just 2 minutes, ask yourself 3 questions. What did I do today that I am proud of? What did I learn today that I did not know yesterday? What is one small way I am different from the person I was this time last year? Not compared to anyone else. Just you, measured against you, on your own timeline, in your own story. The vocabulary word here is self-awareness, the ability to honestly observe your own thoughts, feelings, and progress without judgment. Self-awareness is the antidote to comparison. Because when you are genuinely paying attention to your own growth, you become too interested in your own journey to spend much time worrying about someone else's. Champions, I want to paint you a picture of what life looks like when comparison stops running the program. You wake up and your first thought is not about what someone else has. It is about what you are going to build today. You scroll past other people's success and feel something surprising, genuine happiness for them. Not envy. Not resentment. Actual joy. Because their success no longer threatens yours. You work with a different kind of energy. Not the anxious, desperate energy of someone trying to catch up with people running in a completely different race. but the calm, focused, sustainable energy of someone who knows exactly where they are going and is completely committed to getting there. Your English improves faster. Your confidence grows steadier. Your relationships become more honest. Your daily life becomes more present, because you are finally living it instead of watching it through the lens of everyone else's highlight reel. That is the life waiting for you on the other side of comparison. And it begins with one decision. The decision Omar made. The decision to measure yourself only against the person you were yesterday. Champions, here is your reflection exercise for today. Before you sleep tonight, write down 3 answers to this question: who was I 1 year ago, and who am I today? Not compared to anyone else. Just you and you. Write it honestly. Write it with kindness. And then, look at that gap between who you were and who you are now. That gap is your real progress. That gap is your real story. And that story, your story, is the only one that has ever mattered. Subscribe to English Mindset for lessons that grow your language and your thinking at the same time. Share this video with one person in your life who needs to stop comparing and start living. This is English Mindset. I will see you in the next one, champions. Stop measuring your life by someone else's ruler. You were never supposed to fit their scale.